In no particular order, here are rappers who've made some of the dumbest decisions. Number 9. DMX. DMX has made a ton of strange life decisions. His financial decisions are well documented. He's filed bankruptcy not just once, but he's done it 3 times. Then there are his legal issues with the law. The number of times he's been arrested is easily over 20. But our favorite DMX story has to be when he pretended to be an FBI agent so he could steal someone's car. Back in 2004, he was arrested at New York's Kennedy Airport after he and a friend stole a car from a completely random person. We have so many questions with this one, such as, why did he need a car? Did the guy actually believe he was an FBI agent, or did he recognize he was DMX? Because, come on, DMX is a famous, recognizable rapper, especially back in 2004 in New York. It'd be like Lil Wayne pulling you over and saying he's a cop and he needs your car. DMX apparently just pulled the guy out of his car. This all happened in a paid parking lot at the airport. The funniest part has to be when he and his friend tried to leave the parking lot and he told the attendant too that he was a federal agent. The parking lot attendant was going to let him through, but before the gate opened, DMX crashed through it anyways. How is this scene not out of a movie? The real federal authorities found a plastic bag containing multiple, rocks. For this little escapade, DMX and his friend Jackie Hudgens ended up being hit with a bunch of different charges, such as criminal impersonation and criminal possession of a weapon, a police baton. Having a baton to impersonate an FBI agent was a nice touch. We'll give him that. Number 8. Kodak Black. How long is Kodak Black's rap sheet anyways? One thing that we know is that he was pardoned by President Trump for his gun charge, but there's a lot that Kodak has done that he could have had Trump's help on. For example, he's still facing up to 30 years for, let's just call it an incident that's a bit too graphic for YouTube back in 2016. That's probably the most serious charge that he faces, but his biggest self-inflicted wound has to be the time he went on Instagram Live. Kodak and his boys decided to show off their stash of, let's call it, illegal substances, along with a gun. They did all this with his kid on video, and that's when someone called the cops. Kodak's live stream was still running on Instagram when the cops showed up. The only reason this happened was basically because he put himself out on Instagram. He ended up getting hit with 7 charges total. That happened just 6 months after he was released from 97 days in jail. That jail sentence was because he couldn't stay put in house arrest and he decided to go to a gentleman's club. Number 7. Trey Songz. In early 2021, Trey Songz was in the news for all the wrong reasons. First, there was his leak of private video. Maybe this one is good for his career, but getting arrested for fighting police officers isn't a good look. He was jailed overnight after he fought with police officers during his arrest for not following pandemic protocols and other rules at Arrowhead Stadium after the Chiefs beat the Bills in the AFC Championship game. All this happened just because he didn't want to wear a mask? Okay. Kansas City police were alerted by stadium security. Fans around him complained to security that Trey wasn't wearing a mask. Security was called and they were unable to get him to comply. Trey wouldn't leave when they tried to kick him out, so that's why they called the real police. He really didn't want to wear a mask or leave because he punched an officer and put him in a headlock. All this was clearly caught on video. Supposedly, the officer approached Trey and without warning just went after him. Trey was totally caught off guard when the officer got physical, so he started to defend himself. But all this could have easily been avoided by just following the rules at an event he himself chose to be at. Number 6. Lil Wayne. In case you didn't know it, President Trump also pardoned Lil Wayne for gun possession right before he left office. Wayne was looking at up to 10 years in prison if he was convicted, so the fact that he got charged was just dumb anyways. How did Lil Wayne get in that situation? He was flying home back into Miami around Christmas of 2019. His private jet was stopped and searched by federal agents. They found illegal substances and a gun on board, and that's a big no-no because of Lil Wayne's past. Why was his plane searched? Well, someone ratted him out. Miami-Dade police had received a tip on illegal things possibly being transported on Wayne's plane, so they then alerted the feds, who did the research with the local cops. In 2007, Wayne was arrested in New York when police found a loaded gun on his tour bus. Essentially, he had to stay away from guns to stay out of jail, so there's no excuse for him or anyone in his entourage to have any on the plane. But instead, he had a gold-plated gun in his luggage on his plane. Obviously, his lawyer pointed out that he never had it out or threatened to use it, and that Wayne wasn't a dangerous person at all. But of course, all this could have been avoided if he just didn't own any guns because of his felony conviction in the past. Number 5. GHerbo. Who knew that there's a kind of big rapper out there that's just running a scam to make money? Yeah, only the big rappers who sign the right deals make a lot of life-changing money. That or they stay independent and keep everything. But that's another topic. GHerbo pleaded not guilty in December of 2020 to the federal charges he and 5 members of his crew faced. They're accused of using stolen identities to make charges on other people's credit cards for things that ranged from private jet trips to designer puppies. So far, prosecutors have uncovered as much as $1.5 million in stolen goods and services, but that number can easily go a lot higher. Investigators described the evidence in the case as massive. There were apparently hundreds of people that they stole from. There were also plenty of businesses that lost money because of their scamming. Basically, GHerbo, his manager, and other members of his crew used stolen IDs to charge more than $1.5 million on credit cards over a 4-year period. There were trips on private jets, exotic car rentals, and villas for exotic vacations. The cards they used were real, and they had access to the cardholders' names and personal details so the transactions would go through. But the businesses would lose out when the real owners of the cards found out and disputed the charges. Once people canceled their cards and changed the numbers, they just move on to a new identity. The businesses were the big losers. The most interesting thing is that GHerbo reportedly earned about $1 million a year and has a decent amount of money in his bank accounts. That was according to the prosecutors. Despite making a lot of money a year, he and his team choose crime anyways. Number 4. NBA Youngboy. When he's not busy wrecking fast cars, NBA Youngboy is busy adding to his rap sheet. Find out about the Lambo he wrecked in this video. NBA Youngboy has already put up a long criminal record, even if he's just 21. His first charge was back in 2015, when he did a robbery at only 15 years old. Then in late 2016, he was arrested at a concert that he was supposed to perform. That was because he apparently did a drive-by in Louisiana. He basically got a slap on the wrist for that one because the judge just gave him 3 years of probation and 250 hours of community service. She actually made fun of him for being a bad shooter and said that he was lucky that he was. The fact that he and his friends didn't hit anyone was a big reason that he didn't go to prison or jail. That and because he just went ahead and pleaded guilty for a lesser charge. Was it a good decision by the judge to let him off so lightly back in 2017? Probably not. The reason being, he was involved in another shooting in 2019, and just recently in September of 2020, he was arrested again while on probation. He was charged with having guns and illegal substances. Number 3. DaBaby. He's one of the hottest rappers out right now, so staying out of jail should be a big priority for DaBaby. But he doesn't seem like he can stay out of trouble. For example, in late 2018, DaBaby was caught up in a very serious situation. He got into a fight in a Walmart in North Carolina with some random 19-year-old guy. DaBaby shot him in the stomach, and that guy didn't make it. He admitted that he was involved, but he said he was acting in self-defense. All the most serious charges were dropped, but he did get a misdemeanor for carrying a concealed weapon. Then in January of 2020, he was arrested again. Except this time, he was charged with robbery. Members of his crew jumped and robbed a music promoter who only paid him 20 grand of the 30 grand he was owed for a performance in Miami. DaBaby is a superstar rapper. To catch charge over just 10 grand is seriously dumb. He's not exactly in a business where he's at risk of people not paying what he's owed. Obviously, the guy wasn't walking around with 10 grand, so instead DaBaby and his boys took $80, an iPhone 7, and a credit card from him. So DaBaby got arrested because of his dumb decision, and police discovered that he had a warrant out for his arrest in Texas. That warrant was from a fight DaBaby was in at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport when he and one of his boys decided to attack an employee working at a food stand. Then there are the other arrests that involve illegal substances. Is it just us, or are these arrests and the trouble that he gets into completely avoidable? Number 2. Bobby Shmurda. Before he went to jail, Bobby was easily one of the hottest rising rappers back in 2014. However, the craziest thing for him was he was doing exactly what he was rapping about. It helps out to have street credibility as a rapper, except it doesn't help in every situation. And rapping about the truth of that type of life when he actually lived it wasn't the smartest thing. Bobby accepted a plea deal and agreed to serve 7 years in prison rather than risk trial, something that would have given him a lot more years if he had decided to fight the charges. Prosecutors characterized Bobby as a driving force for the East Flatbush-based gang called GS9 that he's a part of. His gang was responsible for several shootings, and at least one turned out deadly. The feds charged Bobby with multiple counts of conspiracy, weapons possession, along with other charges. For the most serious of his conspiracy charges, Bobby faced up to 25 years in prison. Even before Bobby Shmurda became a household name, the feds were already investigating GS9. So when Bobby came out with his hit song, he basically gave the feds all the evidence that they needed to lock him up. For what it's worth, Bobby claimed that his raps were made up, even if he used to say they were real. But the feds didn't think that he was lying when they gave him 7 years. The latest reports have Bobby getting out of prison in December of 2021. Number 1. Takashi 6ix9ine. Is it possible to talk about rappers that do dumb things without talking about Takashi? We'll talk just a little bit about him since his story is well documented. But he has to be on here since a lot of his moves actually could potentially affect his life. The long story short for Takashi 6ix9ine is that he ran with real gangbangers who actually did gangster things. Takashi wasn't about that life, but he just pretended he was just to build up his credibility. He basically was charged with firearms and racketeering charges by the feds. Instead of going to prison for a long time, he opted to turn in all the actual gangsters he used to run with. Obviously, this may have put his life in danger. Will the people he turned in actually go after him eventually? Or is Takashi too famous to go after? Hopefully for his sake, they don't. Only time will tell. Here's what's next.